Remember when vampires completely took over pulp culture in the late 2000s? Twilight hit theaters, True Blood steamed up HBO, and The Vampire Diaries ruled the CW. But before the craze hit full fang, there were plenty of other vampire shows lurking in the shadows. Strange, stylish, and sometimes just plain bizarre. From brooding anti-heroes to undead teens, in this video we're sinking our teeth into the forgotten vampire shows of the 2000s. The ones lost to time, but absolutely deserving a resurrection. And to keep things neat, we're listing them in order from oldest to newest. Hellsing. This gothic anime series gave us one of the coolest, bloodiest vampire stories of the 2000s. Set in England, Hellsing follows the Hellsing organization, a secret unit dedicated to hunting down vampires, ghouls, and all manner of supernatural threats. Led by the unflinching Sir Integra Hellsing, the group's ultimate weapon is Alucard, a centuries-old vampire who now fights for humanity. Alongside his newly turned protege, he tears through everything from undead armies to crazed priests. Stylish and unapologetically brutal, Hellsing blended horror, action, and attitude like no other. And its 2006 remake, Hellsing Ultimate, cranked up the visuals and bloodshed even further. Vampire High. This Canadian teen drama took the vampire myth and smashed it together with high school melodrama in the best way possible. The show followed a group of young vampires sent to a private boarding school where they're trying to learn to control their thirst, all while coexisting with regular human students. Cue forbidden crushes, secret identities, and supernatural angst galore. It had all the trappings of that era's teen TV: angsty rock music, over-the-top acting, and low-budget special effects. Sure, it was cheesy, but that was part of its charm. Vampire High embraced the weird and became a hidden gem ready to be rediscovered. Vampire Host. Japan knows how to make the supernatural feel stylish, and Vampire Host is the perfect example. Also known as Bloodhound the Vampire Gigolo, this short-lived J-drama followed Rion, a teenager who starts investigating a local vampire host club after people in her neighborhood begin mysteriously disappearing. She suspects the club might be behind it, but along the way, she starts befriending the vampires, including the club's enigmatic leader, Soo. Equal parts campy, funny, and surprisingly sweet, Vampire Host was pure early 2000s Japanese TV gold, and way more entertaining than it had any right to be. Hello, Franceska. Hello, Franceska might just be one of the weirdest vampire shows you've never heard of. This South Korean sitcom mixed supernatural creatures, comedy, and family hijinks in a way that somehow worked. It followed Franceska, an elegant vampire who, along with her eccentric undead family, ends up living among humans in Seoul. Cue culture clashes, comedic chaos, and plenty of over-the-top moments. It was the Addams Family meets vampires, complete with absurd situations and a surprisingly lovable cast. It quickly became a cult hit in Korea, spawning multiple seasons and proving that vampires can thrive just as easily in comedy as in horror. Blade, the series. Fresh off the Blade movie trilogy, Spike TV took a swing at turning Marvel's vampire hunter into a small-screen anti-hero. And honestly, it deserved better than it got. Blade the series picked up after Blade Trinity, with rapper Sticky Fingers stepping into Wesley Snipes' leather trench coat as the half-human, half-vampire Daywalker. The show leaned into darker, serialized storytelling, digging deeper into vampire politics and Blade's ongoing war against the House of Chthon. It had style, action, and a moody tone that felt ahead of its time for cable TV. Unfortunately, low ratings and high production costs drove a stake through its heart after just one season. Still, Blade the series remains a gritty gem for vampire action fans. Young Dracula. Forget brooding immortals. Young Dracula gave us vampires with teen angst and British humor. This CBBC series followed the Dracula family, Vlad, his older sister Ingrid, and their delightfully overdramatic father, Count Dracula, after they flee Transylvania for a small town in Wales. Vlad, the reluctant heir to his father's blood-sucking legacy, dreams of being normal. But as the prophesied chosen one, his fate keeps pulling him deeper into the world he's trying to escape. By cleverly combining goofy comedy with heartfelt storytelling, young Dracula turned family dysfunction into vampire fun and became a cult favorite along the way. Blood Ties. Based on Tanya Huff's Blood Books novels, Blood Ties offered a mix of noir, romance, and the supernatural. The show followed Vicki Nelson, a tough private investigator with failing eyesight who teams up with a 470-year-old vampire named Henry Fitzroy to solve paranormal crimes. Between the flirtatious banter, gothic mystery, and plenty of Canadian charm, it hit all the right notes for mid-2000s vampire TV. Unfortunately, despite a devoted fan base, Blood Ties was canceled after just 2 seasons. Still, it remains a beloved underdog for fans of supernatural detective stories. The Lair. If you thought vampire shows couldn't get any campier, The Lair said, "Hold my coffin." This series centered on an underground vampire club run by a coven of gorgeous gay vampires. The show was unapologetically steamy, gleefully over the top, and full of melodrama. While it wasn't winning awards for subtlety, The Lair was a groundbreaking step for LGBTQ+ representation in supernatural TV at the time. It leaned all the way into its pulp sensibilities, earning a cult following among viewers who knew exactly what kind of wild ride they were in for. Moonlight. Before vampires were sparkling, they were smoldering, and Moonlight was proof. This CBS drama followed Mick St. John, a vampire private investigator who feeds on blood but still has a conscience. Torn between his humanity and his nature, Mick finds himself drawn to a mortal woman, Beth, whom he once saved as a child. Equal parts noir romance and supernatural mystery, Moonlight was slick, stylish, and surprisingly emotional. Despite winning a People's Choice Award and building a devoted fan base, it fell victim to the 2008 writers' strike and was canceled after just 1 season. To this day, fans still mourn what could have been one of the best vampire dramas of its time. Being Human. Being Human asked a simple but genius question. What if a vampire, a werewolf, and a ghost shared a flat? The result was one of the best supernatural dramedies to come out of the 2000s. This British series followed Mitchell, the brooding vampire, George, the anxious werewolf, and Annie, the sweet ghost, as they tried, and mostly failed, to live normal lives. What made Being Human stand out wasn't just the supernatural chaos, but how deeply human it felt. Loneliness, addiction, friendship, identity, all wrapped in clever writing and dry British humor. It spawned a spin-off, Becoming Human, and a US remake, but nothing quite captured the heart of the original. Sanctuary. Sanctuary wasn't a straight-up vampire show, but it definitely had fangs in the mix. It followed Dr. Helen Magnus, a Victorian-era scientist who injected herself with vampire blood, gaining near immortality. In the present day, she runs the Sanctuary, an organization dedicated to protecting and studying people and creatures with extraordinary abilities, called Abnormals. Among them is Nikola Tesla, a charmingly egotistical genius who also happens to be a vampire. Shot mostly on green screens, a novelty at the time, Sanctuary merged steampunk flair, monster of the week fun, and big sci-fi ideas, proving that even a drop of vampire blood can keep a show alive. Honorable mentions. Not every 2000s vampire show could make the main list, but these deserve a nod. If you're into anime, Blood Plus deserves a shout-out, an emotionally heavy series about Saya, a schoolgirl-turned-vampire warrior battling bloodthirsty creatures. For K-drama fans, Freeze offered a moody romantic spin on immortality, following a centuries-old vampire and his human lover in Modern Soul. And yes, even short-form series got in on the action. I Heart Vampires gave us an early YouTube-era supernatural teen web series, while MTV's Valemont blended mystery, college life, and vampiric intrigue in bite-sized episodes. And of course, we can't forget the big two that defined the decade, True Blood and The Vampire Diaries. They're hardly forgotten, but worth mentioning just in case you've somehow managed to miss them. Split. Finally, we have Split, a high school vampire drama from Israel. It followed Ella, a teenage girl who discovers she's half vampire and destined to bridge the gap between humans and the undead. Blending romance, destiny, and high school drama with a distinctly Middle Eastern twist, Split stood out from its Western counterparts. Part coming-of-age story, part epic vampire myth, it balanced heartfelt emotion with pulpy supernatural fun. Split became a cult hit both in Israel and abroad, proof that teen vampire fever truly went global. Think we nailed it with our lineup of forgotten 2000s vampire shows? Or did we leave out your favorite? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Head over to tvshowpilot.com for deep dives on all your favorite shows, and subscribe to the TV Show Pilot YouTube channel so you never miss a new video.